Now,
Yep.
your morning workout, which I really dig, what happened if you don't get it in?
I do feel a little guilty about it. Um, I will try to go to an evening class, but evenings are hard because I'm tired. I have all day to think up excuses to not go.
Yeah.
I need to not think. I just need to get up and get out the door. But I also find that on days that I don't go in the morning, I have less energy. I
Hmm.
feel a little bit sluggish. My mind is not quite as sharp. Um, and so it's become a real foundational piece of my day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do it just, it's not more of a physical thing like me running or exercising. It's not because I want to lose weight. It's because I want that mental benefit that you just
Yeah,
outlined.
yeah, exactly.
Let's learn how our next guest gets up, dress up, and show up on purpose. Enjoy the episode.
Hello, morning enthusiasts. Welcome to the Best Morning Routine Ever podcast. I am your host, Dr. Lou Need, and today I have the honor of introducing a very special guest to the show, Sheila Akbar. She joined Signet team in summer of 2010, bringing with her a wealth of experience teaching SAT, ACT, GRE, Lit, you name it. And she's been able to do one-on-one in the classroom. So she loves teaching. And she has a 5-year-old son. I'm sure she's doing a great job teaching him as well. And so I'm excited to bring her on because we're going to learn about how the best way to teach and how to make sure that what we're teaching does stick and it does resonate. So with no further ado, Sheila, welcome to the show.
Thank you. So nice to be here.
Yeah. Yes, it's a pleasure. So tell us how this all started. Like, did you love teaching from the get-go? Like,
Yeah, that's a great question. It is a long story. I will try to keep it short. I have always loved teaching. As a young child, I remember feeling so proud when I could help a classmate understand
yeah.
how to do something. And I remember telling my immigrant parents, I would love to be a teacher when I grow up, and them saying, no, no, no,
You know.
you don't want to do that. That's not going to be enough. They had very high expectations, and unfortunately, their feelings about the teaching profession
So you had to
are
be a
influenced
doctor
by.
or a lawyer.
Oh yeah, exactly. You know
Mm-hmm.
all about it, right? They wanted me to be financially successful, and that was their main criteria for guiding me towards a career path. And so teaching was off the table. And unfortunately, teachers are still very underpaid in this country and around the world.
Mm-hmm.
So, they may have had a point there. But I love teaching, and they kind of squashed it out of me and turned me towards medicine. My father is a doctor, as is my brother. And I loved school. And I was really good at math and science as well as the other stuff, but math and science really excited me. And so I was like, okay, they want me to be a doctor. I like math and science. Maybe it's okay. Maybe I can do what they want and I'll still be happy. So I kind of worked my tail off. I needed to get away from home. I got into Harvard. And I was a
Nice.
pre-med there. And then 3 years in, as I was getting ready to take the MCAT, I really had kind of a come to Jesus moment where I was like, do I really want to do this? I'm about to embark on the actual hard part of this, taking the MCAT, applying to med school, going to med school. Do I really want to do this? And there was a voice inside, a very clear voice saying, no, you don't want this. You really don't want this. So I mustered up all my courage. I told my parents, I don't want to be a doctor. I had no answer for what I did want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at the time, it was the early 2000s, and Wall Street was just hungry for Ivy League grads. And so I kind of fell in with the pack, and I went and worked on Wall Street for 2 years. And I learned a ton, but I was miserable because finance was also not for me. And so I left, and my parents, of course, were freaking out. What are you doing? And I was like, I don't know. I applied to film school and then withdrew the applications because I was like, no, I don't really want to do that. I applied to architecture school. I even got an internship with an architect. pulled those back too. I was like, no, that's not for me. That's not what I want. And the whole time, even since high school, I had been reading poetry and was very interested in learning languages, translating poetry and things like that. And it's what I studied at Harvard, even though I was doing my pre-med requirements. And I was still doing that. It was the thing that brought me peace, really brought me a lot of joy. And I don't remember the day, but there was a day where there was a light bulb moment, like, oh, I should go back to this poetry and see if I can make a career out of this. So I decided to apply to grad school. I went and did a master's. I loved it. I was a good student growing up. I was a better student than I'd ever been because I knew the alternatives, and I found something that really brought a lot of meaning into my life and I could see a future in. And then I eventually did a PhD and I added on a second PhD because my parents raised an overachiever. And I was tutoring throughout graduate school because graduate school doesn't pay very well. They were right. Teaching doesn't pay. So tutoring and really enjoyed that work because I was working individually with students who really needed my help, as opposed to the classes I was teaching as a graduate student where people were there because it was a requirement. They weren't interested particularly in the subject. A few of them were, but most of them were like, I just got to go through the motions, right? But working with somebody who really needs your help and you can help them, that's such an amazing feeling, right? And I was able to do it while also making some money and feeling pretty good about my, financial security and my abilities as a teacher. And when I was writing my dissertation, I moved to Boston where I had done my undergrad. And a friend of mine had already started Signet Education. And I joined as a tutor, but the perspective I had from having worked on Wall Street, from being in academia, from tutoring for so long, from teaching in the classroom, I was able to make a lot of impact within the organization in terms of developing curricula, training other tutors, hiring people, managing teams. And I just kind of grew from there and became president and COO in 2017, I think. I don't remember, 6 years ago now. And now I really run the entire business. My friend Jay, who founded Signet, is still involved, but he's not really part of the day-to-day operations, although we collaborate quite closely. And so now I get to draw on all of those things that I learned while I thought I was sort of floundering and failing, trying all these different career paths. And I see now they all kind of come together in such a beautiful way. And I wish someone had told me in high school and college, your life is going to take many turns. They will make sense at some point. They won't make sense now. And that does not mean you're a failure. That does not mean you're not going to be successful at some point, right? All of these are experiments and learning opportunities. And that's what we try to do at Signet today. When we work with teenagers, we are insistent on telling them, hey, progress is not a straight path. It's going to go up and down. You might feel like you're going backwards, a left turn here and there. You might spin all the way around in a 360. But there are lots of ways to measure progress, and we need to get focused on what are you trying to achieve and how can we achieve that in a way that feels right with your values and who you are as a person. And if you can stay in touch with that, you're going to be great.
And I can end the podcast right there because you just nailed it. I mean, you said so much right there too. There's a lot to unpack. But Steve Jobs would agree with you and say it's easier to connect the dots looking backwards.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's precisely what you've done. And what an incredible story, right? Like the marriage, like what you go through is all part of the process and all part of the journey. And so don't feel like a failure in the process. I really love that.
Yeah.
It's refreshing to hear that because people think, oh, I've wasted time. It's got to be a linear path to the goal. But in reality, they're stepping stones, they're tools. You're learning, you're picking up skills along the way to get you to this destination.
Exactly. And I don't know who said it. I should probably look it up. But somebody said the obstacle is the way. And I like to say failure is the way. That's the way you got to go. You got to go through it, right? And failure is not a thing that it's the end of something, which is how we often think of failure. Failure is a process to move through, right? You've got to try things, struggle, fail even, and learn from it to do the next thing, right? To put one foot in front of the other. And there is research that shows when we struggle with something, we learn it better than if we don't struggle with it at all. We really develop true mastery.
The tribulations, even life, yeah, the same can be applied. And the trials and the tribulations get you against the wall. You come out stronger, and perseverance is built, character is built, and out of that, value comes out of it. So it's like life. That whole process, as you said, failure is a process. So it's, success is a journey, not a destination, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, there is, tell us about the pathfinding process at Signet.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we have a program that we call Pathfinder, and it's really a combination of kind of all the things we do. So we do academic tutoring, test preparation, executive function coaching, and college admissions work with students 8th grade and higher. And we take a very holistic approach. So even if they come in for algebra tutoring, we want to connect it to a larger, more meaningful goal for them beyond, I want to get a better grade in this class, right? There's more to life than grades. Surprise. The Pathfinder program is really an amalgamation of all those things, of what I was saying earlier about, let's figure out what is your definition of success, right? And it's not getting into this college, right? Success is a lifelong goal, right? What is that constellation of things that you want to be able to have in your life, whether that's certain types of relationships, a place that you want to live, a certain amount of money in the bank, a kind of car, a job that allows you to do something that you love, right? There's so many different ways to define success, and everybody has their own. But let's think about that for you. What are your definitions of success? And what are your personal values? Because that's how you're going to go after that vision. And then let's work towards them together, right? We help students reflect and learn about themselves in this way. And then we help them turn that into an action plan, right? If you want to be a multi-billionaire CEO of a tech company in 5-6 years, whatever that is, well, there are a lot of things you need to do between now and then, right? And let's break it down and let's think about what's realistic. What can you do? What seems out of reach? How do we need to change our goals or the way we're going after it? So all of that is done in the context of high school, which means you're doing, classes. You've got to do the SAT or the ACT potentially. You're probably going to apply to college, right? So all of those services are sort of built into it. But that initial foundation of that personal reflection and personal growth directly informs how they approach the college application process, what schools they're applying to, what stories they're telling to highlight their own strengths. And in our experience, the students who've done this kind of work know themselves so well, can speak about themselves so articulately, colleges immediately are drawn to them and say, wow, we want that kind of student on our campus. That's the exact kind of profile we're looking for. So that's what pathfinding is.
Okay, yeah, now I get a better understanding of it. It's really a path of like true success in terms of what is the ultimate goal. College is not the goal, right? Like what's beyond college? And it sounds like you're teaching them about themselves too, because in high school, who isn't lost?
Oh my God, yeah, everybody's lost. Yeah, I mean, adults are lost still as well. Let's not pretend. And that's really in the name of it. It's like, let's help you find your own path.
And in a lot of that, you birth purpose, right? People find purpose because you're aligning them with their values, as you mentioned. And so they can see, okay, I'm not good at X and Y. I don't want to be a doctor, but maybe I can find what is it that I'm good at. Well, start asking the right questions. How important it is to ask the right questions. Let's talk about that.
Yeah, it makes all the difference, right? If you ask a teenager what they want to be when they grow up, they're just going to roll their eyes at you, right? They're going to be totally overwhelmed by the question. They're going to be annoyed that you're asking them, or they are so paralyzed by, the state of the world, frankly, that they can't even think about like, well, what am I going to be like as an adult, right? Are we even going to have a planet? Like, is the American democracy going to still be here? Like what, there's a lot that these kids are worried about, and rightly so. So the better question are things that are, more focused. What was hard for you this week? what came really easily to you.
Mm-hmm.
And for the thing that was hard for you, can you think of a strength that you have that you could lean on the next time something like that comes up? And, you may still get eye rolls, but at least there are questions that people can actually answer, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're very specific. They ask about a short time frame, and they're asking them to really strategize based on who they are today, how they can move forward, not who they want to be in the future. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So that's just an example of, the kind of questions I try to ask. I do try to ask my son. He's 5, so he's not really giving me a lot of answers. But, we do talk about, what was hard for you. And we also talk about what was your favorite part of the day. And we practice the gratitude, because that can be really hard to keep sight of when all you feel is struggle. There are great things in your life that you can be thankful for, and that puts you in the mindset of abundance, which is really valuable.
Absolutely. And I'm glad you brought your son up, because I have nieces and nephews and cousins, that are about 2 to 5 years old, and you want to find out, you want to get them talking, right? Because you ask one question, yes or no. I liked it. I didn't. Yes, no, it was fun. And then flat affect from there, right? You get nothing out of them. And so what are some appropriate questions to ask? Is something like you said, what was your favorite part, more appropriate than what did you learn today? What did you learn at school today? Like, what are some more appropriate questions we can ask at that age, just to get conversation going, get them engaged, and let them know that we're interested. Go ahead and speak up.
Yeah. I like to ask questions about their emotions during the day. Like, what made you angry today? What was really frustrating? What was the funniest thing that you heard today or saw today? I can't get my kid to shut up if I ask him those questions. He goes on and on about it. So I like to do that, probably because my parents never asked about my emotions. And so I'm very curious about his, and I want him to get comfortable talking about his emotions. One of the reasons I like the what was hard for you question is because it reframes challenges or failures as a normal part of life. Right. I actually heard, I think her name is Sarah Ward. She's the CEO of Spanx. I heard her speak, and she tells the story about how when she was growing up, her dad would ask her, what did you fail at today? Every day when she came from school. And if she didn't have an answer, he was actually very disappointed in her, because it meant she wasn't trying. Right. She wasn't reaching for something that was just beyond her comfort level. And so that totally reframed things for her. And she became very comfortable with putting herself out there, taking risks, understanding that failure is a part of any process. Right. So those are the kinds of things that I'm trying to do with. I don't work directly with young children. I have nieces and nephews of my own, and then my own child. Those are the kind of questions I like to ask them.
I like those. Yeah, it sparks making the uncomfortable comfortable, like failure. You're not punished for breaking this, or this not working as planned. It's okay. Now find another way that it can work. Or you've just found out another way it doesn't work. Right. Looking at it that way, looking at the glass half full versus half empty, which brings us to fix versus what's the other? Fixed mindset versus the
growth mindset.
Not fix. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
How imperative is that in tutoring? Because I'm sure you will. Yeah.
Yeah, it's really important. It's really important. So many kids come into tutoring with a sense of shame that they need a tutor. Their classmates are able to figure something out that they can't, or they can't keep up with for whatever reason, right? And there are a whole host of reasons, right? It may be that the material is just very challenging. They may have trouble with organization or executive function, or maybe they have a learning difference, or maybe it's just, kind of like a foreign language to them, and they're still getting used to whatever, this material is. So I think it's really important to set that tone that when you practice doing things that are hard, they get easier. And that's the only way they get easier. You have to keep trying them. And then letting them know also, there's all this research that shows if you have confidence that if you practice something, you will get better, you will get better. If you don't believe that practicing makes you better at something, you won't get better. That's the whole Carol Dweck study of, fixed versus growth mindset. And then the thing I said about struggling actually helps you learn something better than if you didn't struggle, right? Challenging yourself with harder problems helps you learn the underlying concepts even more. It gets sort of into your muscle memory in a better way than if you were like, you read a super easy explanation of the thing, and then you never tried to apply it to anything harder than that. You're not going to hold on to it as long. So I think setting those two premises out there early can really help a student feel supported, feel like there is hope, and help them understand that, okay, it's going to be hard work, but I'm here to do it with you, right? You don't have to do this on your own. There's nothing to be ashamed of here. In many cases, my tutors like to say how they might have struggled with the same thing when they were first learning it, and now they have a PhD in it or whatever it is, right? So just being really relatable in that way and partnering with students is kind of the bedrock of what we do at Signet. And it's really based on that idea of the growth mindset and practicing what's hard.
Yeah, well said, Dr. Sheila. That really hits it in the nail. That for growth and fixed mindset, you got to be that support. And I think it starts at home. It starts with mom and dad showing that support. If they're not doing the tutoring themselves or teaching, but they can provide that support, like I'm doing with you. We're gonna get the resources. Hey, I suck at this too. Showing other things that they're bad at, so that kids know that it's okay.
It's totally normal.
Shameful. Yeah, to not be shameful around it. I want to talk to you about your habits to ensure that you show up bubbly and ready to serve the clients that you do. Let's talk about your morning routine. How do you get up, dress up, and show up?
Yeah, I mean, I thought it was so funny when I saw the title of your podcast. I was like, oh, maybe this is not for me. I am a person who hates routine. I have just hated it all my life. Hated it. Like to the point where I won't even do, in the shower, there are a number of things that you need to do in the shower. I won't do them in the same order because I don't want to have a routine. I'm stubborn like that. But, routine does make life a lot easier. And definitely routine has crept into my life, especially with a young child. So my morning routine now, and if you would ask me this question 3 months ago, I would have given you a different answer. But my morning routine now is I wake up around 5:30 and I go to the gym. Nice. I go to this kind of crazy gym that has a really intense 50-minute HIIT workout. I go, I do it. I have to drag myself there. But when it's done, I'm like, oh, yes, I just did the hardest thing I will have to do today. Yep. Everything else from there.
And the sun didn't even come up yet.
Yeah. I mean, it's up by the time I leave the gym, but it's dark, for most of the time I'm in there. And then I come home, I eat some breakfast, I take a shower, and then I start my work day. Now I'm on the West Coast. My colleagues are all on the East Coast. And so I keep East Coast hours. So, I start my day really working around 7:15, but it's already 10:15 on the East Coast. So lots of stuff is already happening. I got lots to catch up on. So I do a little email time, but then I like to take some time to process and plan. Like what has happened in the last couple of hours or at the end of the day yesterday that I need to make sure I'm aware of today or need to take care of today. And then what's my plan for the day, right? Am I working on bigger strategic projects? Am I talking to specific clients? Do I have a student of my own that I need to coach through something today? I look at my calendar, of course. And then I just dive right in. And most of the time, I don't even look up till it's the end of the day. I'm just going.
You're engrossed. That's cool.
I am. And I really like what I do. I really feel that, whether I'm talking to a client or helping a student, I know that I'm impacting them in some significant way. So that is something I love. And then when I'm working on the business, it enables us to help more people. So it's also really meaningful. So it can be dangerous, I feel, to love your work so much because I have a hard time shutting off. But, when my kid comes home, there's no choice. I have to shut off work and then he needs all my attention. But starting early in the morning that way really gives me that time to just kind of burn off some steam, think through a lot of things that have happened, and then really settle into a day of, staring at the screen and talking to people.
Yeah, that's what happened when you find passion. It will wake you up, it will motivate you, inspire you to keep going all day. Now,
Yep.
your morning workout, which I really dig, what happened if you don't get it in?
I do feel a little guilty about it. Um, I will try to go to an evening class, but evenings are hard because I'm tired. I have all day to think up excuses to not go.
Yeah.
I need to not think. I just need to get up and get out the door. But I also find that on days that I don't go in the morning, I have less energy. I
Hmm.
feel a little bit sluggish. My mind is not quite as sharp. And so it's become a real foundational piece of my day.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we do it just, it's not more of a physical thing like me running or exercising. It's not because I want to lose weight. It's because I want that mental benefit that you just
Yeah,
outlined.
yeah, exactly.
Because yeah, it's so important when you love what you do, you just want to show up the best of yourself so you can
Yeah,
get better at it and improve the lives that you do. So the morning routine just helps you do that a lot easier. Makes it
absolutely.
yeah, makes it a lot smoother to show up. In early on, you mentioned that there was a little quiet voice inside of you that says, this is not what you wanted to do. Tell us about people who encounters that and how they should react. That quiet
Uh,
voice that says, nudge you and say, it's not loud, it's not a scream, it's not a shout. It is
yeah,
really subtle, like, hey,
yeah. I mean, I'm sure it's different for everybody, but for me, it was, like you said, subtle. It was consistent, right? It wasn't an impulse of, oh, maybe I should go do this thing. This looks really exciting. It was this very small sense of discomfort with moving forward with the process that I was in. And I didn't understand it at first, but I really do feel that our emotions are these valuable messengers
yeah,
trying to tell us about something or trying to teach us something. And I was like, what is this discomfort? I'm not an anxious person. Um, and so when I feel discomfort or worry about something, it's weird for me. Right. And I just have to rack my brain. Like, did I say something that I'm regretting? Did I forget something? What did I do that's making me feel this way? And the more I paid attention to that voice and listened to that discomfort, I realized it was around, taking the MCAT. Not because I didn't think I was going to do well. I've always done well on standardized tests. And I had done the classes. Like I could probably have done it. But what it meant to me was I was sort of going past the point of no return. Like if I did
mm,
well on my MCAT, there would be no reason I shouldn't apply to med school. Right.
yeah,
And I was like, I'm just going to get sucked up in this thing and I'm going to lose control of the direction of my life. You know?
mm,
So that's what my process looked like. And I had to sit with that voice for a while before I understood what it meant. And then as I kind of acknowledged what it meant for me, I tried to listen to it more
mm,
because, we all have this, whatever internal monologue that is very wise at times.
yeah,
It can be very distracting and destructive at other times. So you really need to be
yeah.
careful when you're listening to it. But I talk to friends about it. I have a therapist whom I love, and those are the people that I kind of use as sounding boards to figure out what is this thing and what should I do about it before I make any decisions.
So your feelings matter. Those emotions, they matter. Pay attention to them
Mm-hmm.
because they're your guiding posts. They will guide you. And it's almost like the answer is within. Look inward and kind of give yourself this quiet space to find the answers.
Yeah,
Well put.
exactly.
Yeah. Dr. Sheila, tell us, where can we find you? How can we connect with you?
Well, my company's website is signeteducation.com. I am very active on LinkedIn. So if you want to follow me there, just at Sheila Akbar. Um, I post a lot of content. I've got some videos planned coming up too, so you can learn more about what we do, and hopefully some of the stuff that I do can have an impact on you.
Fantastic. We love quotes here at Best Morning Routine. So leave us with one.
I'll say it again. Failure is the way. Failure is the way forward. Just keep pursuing it.
Awesome. Well said. Thank you so much for joining us today. It's been a pleasure having you on.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It was great.
Yes, awesome.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode. Please comment and tell us what was your favorite part, your favorite habit that you are going to try out for yourself today. Comment below. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe. Until next time, I will see you at the top of your best morning routine ever. Stay blessed.